The latest tech.
People love iPhone, and it's an important part of our daily lives.
Interviews.
You see far too many products that come on the market that you look at that you say, was a blind person ever even consulted for something like this?
Accessibility.
The most interesting thing over the last couple of years is the emphasis on gaming and accessibility.
This is Double Tap TV.
Thank you for joining us this week. I am Mark Aflalo.
And I am Stephen Scott. Now, Mark, this week we are going to do something a little bit different. I think we are going to get out of our comfort zone, so to speak. Now, last spring, if you remember, it's hard not to, we took a trip out to Regina, Saskatchewan for a very fun town hall.
Yes, we did. We met a lot of really cool viewers, and it was a change to get people involved in the show on a first-person kind of I can touch and feel them point of view.
Yeah, although, obviously the recommendation is you just look at them. But also helping us out during that town hall was a new face on Double Tap, and that was Becki Zerr.
And Stephen, we were introduced to Becki by AMI because she's done some podcasts for AMI Audio before and continues to do one as well. But you know what? We got to know Becki. And you know what she proclaimed herself to be? She proclaimed herself to be not Techy Becki. Now, Naturally, we argued that point and realized that she actually relies on a lot of tech as she lost her vision.
Absolutely. So today we are going to meet Becki again, and we're going to learn about how tech played a major role in her journey.
So, Stephen, without further ado, let's welcome our guest. She's the host of Raising Kindness, an incredible new AMI podcast available not only in podcast but also in YouTube form, all about volunteering with her son, Bennett. She's a regular on AMI in general. Becki Zerr, thank you so much for being with us this week on Double Tap.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me back. I totally am looking forward to this.
Now, Becki, thank you so much for joining us and talking about your journey. It is important, especially for others, right? I think it's always good for us to tell our stories so we can connect with others. So perhaps maybe you could start off by telling our audience a bit about you and your own, dare I use the words, sight loss journey.
Sure, you can call it whatever you want. Really, it's been quite the roller coaster ride. So my vision loss journey started back in 2013. That's when I say it started. The reality is it started back in 1983 when I was 3 years old. But to me, I, at that point, was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis coupled with uveitis and glaucoma. By the time my parents were able to receive a definitive diagnosis, unfortunately, the diseases had taken the sight entirely in my right eye, and it was aggressively spreading into the left. So I grew up with monocular vision, and to me, that was completely normal because I don't have any actual residual memories of having two working eyes. So what people see with two working eyes, I think it's kind of bizarre concept to me. And so it was really normal. So that's why I don't say that my vision loss journey really started until 2013 when I was really thrust into the real world of vision loss. Not to be disrespectful to anybody else, but honestly, like I said, it was just really normal for me to have the one eye. It was involved, and I had lots of surgeries and procedures and all that kind of fun stuff as well on my left good eye. But in 2013, I experienced a very sudden loss of all of my sight. I experienced what's called the global rupture, and it sounds really graphic, but essentially my eye popped. And within seconds, I went from being, someone who could drive, who was working as a nurse, who was an active mom and wife, to somebody who couldn't see anything at all. And I had no idea of what all went into the world of being a blind person. I didn't know how to do it. So it was a bit intimidating, overwhelming, and I don't even know what other descriptors to actually make it realistically for people to understand what it felt like. But I had no idea what I was doing. And so I remember being at the hospital and I was a government worker. So I was a BlackBerry user. And I know people are like, gasping, right? Like, well, what are you going to do with that? and that was exactly it. It was like, I couldn't receive a call. I couldn't make a call. I couldn't send a text message. I couldn't do an email. I had no idea. It was a turtle on its back, essentially. And so my husband was the brilliant one in our family. This is back in 2013. And he had the one and only iPhone in our little family. And so before he would leave me at night, we would trade phones. So I would give him the government lockdown phone. And then he would hand me his iPhone because this lovely lady lived in it, and her name was Siri, and she would make phone calls for me, and she would listen to what I asked her to do, and she was just marvelous. And I guess that was my first sort of glimpse into the tech world when I had really no choice.
Honestly, Becki, that's incredible. But we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a nurse. This is Double Tap TV.
Can't get enough Double Tap TV? Subscribe to the podcast and get your fill of Double Tap every day. Visit doubletaponair.com and follow us now. Double Tap TV will be right back. You're watching Double Tap TV.
Back on Double Tap TV, we are in conversation with Becki Zerr. Becki, you talked about being a nurse. So we're talking about like a career on a path before, obviously, that age of 33 when you had the global rupture, and then literally overnight in the snap you lost your vision. Was being a nurse and having that experience, was it helpful in this process? Because I know we've heard horror stories in terms of people going from being able to see full-sighted one day and to the next, and absolutely going into incredible depression and dealing with all of the things that come with that. Was it a bit different for you because of your experience?
Yeah, you know what, Mark? I think it was in some ways. Some ways it was really positive, and others it was detrimental, I will be honest, in that we didn't take a course on how to be blind during nursing school, right? Ironically, when I was in nursing school doing bedside nursing, most of the people who we encountered while I was on the ward as a student, I was given them if they had a vision deficit at all, just because my instructors knew that I had the one eye and they thought I was relatable and whatever. But really the component that really helped me navigate this journey a little bit more successful, I think, or confident-wise, I mean, I lacked confidence significantly in the beginning, let me be honest, but was that I did know the professional side of things. I did know how to advocate for myself. I knew how to, I knew the people to call. I made my phone a friend call from my bedside and to my pediatric ophthalmologist because I knew that was still okay. I knew how to reach out to him. I did experience because that RN word got placed on my file very quickly, because I could carry the conversations and I knew exactly what people were saying, right? I didn't need somebody to interpret the medical lingo to me. It was kind of a good thing, but in other times it was kind of bad because people just automatically judged and assumed that I knew what I was doing. Well, I did know what I was doing, but cognitively I was completely intact, but physically I had no idea, like I said, how to navigate the blind concept, how to actually implement what was in my mind into reality as well. But I do think that I did have a bit of a jump up, so to speak, on those who unfortunately weren't medical professionals prior to. So,
and yeah, you talked about the experience of being a nurse helping you, but you had already monoscopic vision. And I wonder, did that in any way prepare you at all, or were you so used to that style of vision that actually it didn't prepare you really for blindness?
Yeah, I think it did in some ways, in that I knew what was coming or what could come. I knew the words, associated with the eye that I'd experienced with my right eye and that were now pertaining to my left eye. I did know some of that stuff, so that was really helpful. But in other ways, monocular sight to me was just so normal. There wasn't anything I couldn't do with it. I could drive, I could start a pediatric IV, I could administer a tetanus shot, I guess, I could do tetanus shot, that's easy peasy, but I could do a tuberculin skin test where you have to be under the first 3-4 layers of skin precisely. I could do all of those things with monocular sight. And when I say monocular sight, my left eye, my good eye, so to speak, wasn't entirely dialed in either. My vision prior to this all happening, corrected, was sitting around the 2040, 2045, sometimes on bad days, 2050 even, right? But to me, I could still navigate the world. When I think about getting my sight back, and I would be a huge liar, pants on fire if I said I didn't. I don't think about getting 2 eyes back. I think about getting 1 eye back. To me, that would be like the Mac Daddy deal of the world. Just give me one. I'll share the other one with somebody else.
Becki, prior to that global rupture, had you heard about accessibility for anybody with a disability? Was that something that was on your radar at all?
It was and it wasn't really. Like I had no idea, although I was considered blind in some ways, right, with the monocular sight. I had no idea what it was like to actually walk the walk. I thought I knew, but I really totally didn't know. So, I mean, I was aware as a nurse about accessibility standards and protocols, and I was very much, a government worker. So it was on my radar of making sure that things were somewhat accessible, but I mean, the word accessibility to me today means something completely different than it did 10 years ago, for sure.
Your son Bennett was 3 years old when you had that global rupture. How did he understand that? Did he understand it? Because fast forward to your current podcast on AMI Audio and obviously on YouTube, he is a major tech support in your life.
Yeah, explaining it to Bennett was a bit of a question of how we did it, yet we're able to still maintain his childhood innocence, because I didn't want to strip it from him entirely. But we did know that he needed to have a level of understanding as well, especially because I went from being such a hands-on active person one day, and then the next day I literally sat, in the hospital bed, but on the couch, so to speak, right? So he needed to have a level of understanding of what was going on and why. I remember being in the hospital waiting for, another test to be implemented, and he was sitting on my lap. And he knew that mom was upset and sad, but he was 3, like you said. And so his little thing was he knew he wanted to cheer mom up. And so at that time, he was into magic and magic tricks, and, it's pretty consistent with that childhood age. And he was trying to do a magic trick for me, which clearly I couldn't see anything of it. And so I kind of just went along with it. But I mean, honestly, if I didn't have Bennett, I don't think that I would be sitting here talking to you guys today. I know that I would be in a completely different place in my life, because he has been and always will be, I believe, my motivation, my inspiration. I know it sounds cheesy, but it is so true, because on the days that I didn't have or didn't want to do for me, I wanted to do for him. I wanted to strive towards still being the mom that I had envisioned myself being prior to my sight loss. And that was a mom that was very hands-on and active and playful, and always had, his friends around. And so, Bennett has been, aware of what's on, and then we slowly share more, explain more as his level of age and maturity goes along. I think he's probably a completely different child today because my vision loss than if he didn't have a mom with vision loss. And initially I felt really guilty. I thought, oh man, that's terrible. And I felt, bad for him and whatever else. But honestly, I've had obviously almost a decade now to reflect on it. And I think it's actually turned out to be a positive thing, because I think he's more empathetic. He knows the word advocacy. He knows how to, not judge people based on their appearance or their life situation, but to look at them as a person. And I think that's maybe a unique characteristic for a 12-year-old. So I'm really proud of him, but he has definitely been my, one of my biggest cheerleaders, him and my husband for sure. So I'm just proud of him. He's a cute little guy.
When you left the hospital after that global rupture, what or who did you lean on, and did you find were the most important in your life to help you start to reintegrate, I guess, is the word?
Yeah. Well, I mean, ironically, our first stop after the hospital was to a store to purchase me an iPhone. We did that, got the gentleman to hook up some accessibility features as we headed home. And I guess my biggest supports were my family. I wasn't I'm a super social person. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I'm outgoing and perky and happy and love to be surrounded by people of all sorts. But at that time, I just wanted to be around my family. So my husband, my son Bennett, were definitely my number one, number two. My parents were close, right up there, as well as my in-laws. So without those supports in place, I know I would have struggled in even more. Everybody just pitched in and created roles for themselves and divvied up what we had to get done and drove Bennett to preschool because we all believed that that was something important for him to continue on with. And, we made it happen, and we had no idea what we were doing. We were totally fumbling along the way, but somehow it was actually effective and it worked, because I think things are okay today. Some days it was 2 steps forward and 20 steps back. And I would be a big liar if I said it was all smooth and easy and happy, because it wasn't. And I discussed that on, not to plug it, but on my other podcast, The Blind Reality. I gave a very honest look at my vision loss journey, because there was something that I really wanted to be able to listen to from somebody else's lived perspective when this all happened, and I just couldn't find it. So I when provided the opportunity through an AMI, I put it out there, and hopefully it helps somebody else. So
And we're going to hear more about Bennett later, and in particular around how he became your tech support. So we'll get into that later. But I want to ask you about external factors. So Bennett was there for you personally, your family were there for you personally. What about external organizations, like, for example, the CNIB? Were they there for you?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So professionally, I knew that the CNIB was an entity that I likely was going to have to reach out to and access their services. Growing up, prior to the global rupture, it was a service that my family and I, we never really linked to. And so I didn't really know a lot about the ins and outs of what their services were, but I knew it was there. And I remember actually the day that my husband and I had the conversation, because there wasn't an automatic referral that took place. And that would be one recommendation that I would hope at some point could take place, is that somebody who is experiencing a traumatic scenario with immediate vision loss, like myself, I would hope that there would be a referral system that could take place within the hospital system to, I guess, implement that process, and have somebody from the CNIB come up and say, hey, I'm from the CNIB. This is what it is. It's not the CIBC, it's a CNIB, and this is how we differ. And so, because I recognize there are people out there that have never heard of the CNIB and what they do. But to me, it was a real big decision to actually reach out to them, because I knew at that point I was sort of tapping out saying, okay, I can't do this on my own. I really wanted to, because that's the innate part of my personality, is I like to sort of troubleshoot and figure things out and deal with it on my own with my family and all that kind of jazz. But I did reach out to them. And then I guess one of the frustrating parts was there was a bit of a delay in accessing their service, because they're unfortunately understaffed, because they're a charity, right? They don't have all of the resources at the, fingertips ready to roll, although they would love to. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of them. Clearly, I'm not one of them, but I'm confident that if they could have provided service to me that day, they would have. But there was a bit of a delay. And so that was a bit frustrating. But I mean, that was kind of the beginning of the ball starting to roll in getting life back to normal, is by implementing their service. And as much as I hate it, getting my first white cane handed to me, and the reality of that being smacked on me, that I wasn't just going to be able to follow people around for the rest of my life, and perhaps my vision would continue to drop, which it has. And if I was to follow somebody today, I would confidently ran into their back many times, I'm sure. And so it was a slow progression of receiving their services and the reality checks, but it was definitely a service that I'm grateful for and glad that I did access.
Becki, Stephen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to dive into, obviously, the tech side of things here and get a little bit more detailed. Obviously, the iPhone was the first, the first device you leaned on, but we want to find out more. So do stick around. This is Double Tap TV.
You're watching Double Tap TV. Get involved. Follow us at Double Tap On Air or email us feedback@doubletaponair.com. Double Tap TV will be right back. You're watching Double Tap TV.
Back on Double Tap TV, Stephen Scott, of course, and Mark Aflalo, and our guest this week, Becki Zerr, familiar voice and face to AMI, most recently in her podcast, Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, where her and her son Bennett talk all about volunteering, a very cool one you can find wherever you find podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well.
Now, earlier, Becki, you alluded to the not Techy Becki moniker, which I think is unfair. And the reason I say that is because I think you're probably more technical than you realize. I think a lot of us who have vision loss are like that. Now, you mentioned the iPhone, and let's start there, because that really was the device that I think for you was the first that you connected with, that you felt able to use independently. But of course, it grew from there. But let's start with the iPhone. How valuable has that been to you as a device, when most of us, who are maybe not disabled, might think of it as a just a nice to have.
Yeah. Siri, she's fabulous. I mean, she's annoying because she doesn't entirely listen to me all the time directly when I'm asking for, but the iPhone is so valuable. It's got to be my number one tool. Whenever somebody approaches me who's new to the vision loss world, which in some ways I still consider myself a newbie and still learning, but and they ask, what should they do for their loved one? What would be the number one recommendation? I always say, get an iPhone if you don't already have one, because it just opens the world in so many different ways. Like I can tell what time it is. It's amazing how many times you want to know what time it is during the day and don't have that easy ability to just glance down at your watch or up on the wall to see what time the clock says. So just to orientate myself to time and whatever, especially when I had no sight at all. I can do that. I can send an email. I can send a text message. I can answer a phone. I can listen to a book. I can get directions. I can figure out where the heck I am if my lovely guide dog and I happen to go on a different adventure that we may not have entirely researched prior to leaving. But it's just, honestly, it's endless. And I don't have to tell you because you already know all this, but it's just, to me, it's the most valuable thing ever. And people would tease me because when I buy a new pair of jeans, for example, I have to make sure that my iPhone can fit in the back pocket. And people who are sighted tease me and they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm like, no, it's not. Because if I set her down and I forget where I set her, then I'm lost. And sometimes when I say that, hey, Siri, where are you? She may or may not answer me. See, she didn't answer me. But anyways, that's my number one thing. So.
Okay, so that's your number one, but I want to ask you about, because I think in the early days you were given quite a lot of technology to try. Things that for example, eSight, I believe, was one piece of kit, very popular Canadian company, eSight, who have developed this wearable technology which allows essentially you to gain back some of the vision you've lost through technology. It's a bit of a bold claim by the company, but you can explain it maybe better than I can, but you tried that out, didn't you? And you were, I guess, bombarded with lots of different types of technologies to try.
Yeah, everybody wants to help, really. And I think our tech over the last 10 years has continued to grow and expand, and the options are even better and more available now. But eSight was very new when I first was encountering my vision loss. And I had no idea it obviously existed. And somebody approached me and said, you should try this. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was in the place where I was willing to do anything, pay anything to receive my sight back. And so not to put them down, because it is a tool in my toolbox that I did purchase, and I'm happy I did because I was able to use it for a period of time. My vision isn't, I don't have enough of it in order for it to work these days. But it did, like we were saying, Bennett was 3, right? When this is all happening initially. And so it sounds lame, but I didn't get to see him in his little hockey jersey on the ice, standing on his wee little skates and, constantly falling down. And I know lots of parents take that for granted and we're like, oh my God, my kid can't stand up. And I was just I just wanted to see my kid not stand up. Like, it sounds terrible, but I was just craving that. And so when I had eSight, it handed me a little bit of I'm going to say a breathing room. It allowed me to breathe, I'm going to say, in a way, because I was able to put this ridiculous looking piece of technology on my face, go into public, which was like overwhelming in itself. But you know what? I was sitting in the bleachers just as any other parent was, watching their child. Of course, it was a skewed perception. It wasn't 20/20 by any means, but I could see him on there because he was slow, right? Not today, it wouldn't work because he would whip by me and I wouldn't be able to find him and it would be a nightmare. But he was slow, and then he was up and he was down, and those memories are locked into my mind. And I am so grateful that I have those memories. As blurred as they were, they're still mine and they're still there. And I still go to his hockey today, and I don't see him on the ice. I don't see the plays, but I'm surrounded by some really fabulous parents that have kiddos on the same team, and they've actually started doing like described hockey, I'm going to say, to me. And they are like, so-and-so passed it to so-and-so, and so-and-so has it now, and lost it, right? And they're giving me what's going on. And to me, that's fabulous. It's above and beyond, but all the reason why I'm there is that Bennett loves to see me there. He loves to see his parent in the stands smiling and reacting, I'll say cheering for him as well, just as any other kid would. So technology has been able to allow me to normalize my life in some ways, which I am extremely grateful for and I'm still learning about. And I'm really excited about the future of what tech is going to bring to us.
We could keep this conversation going forever, but we need to take a quick break, and let's come back with Becki Zerr after this on Double Tap TV.
Can't get enough Double Tap TV? Subscribe to the podcast and get your fill of Double Tap every day. Visit doubletaponair.com and follow us now. Double Tap TV will be right back. You're watching Double Tap TV.
We're back on Double Tap TV in conversation with the host of Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, a podcast, a monthly podcast, which you can find and hear on AMI Audio and, of course, on the podcast platform of your choosing. We're in conversation, of course, with Becki Zerr. Becki, aside from being a guinea pig for some new technology that were obviously kind of given to you to try, were there any aha moments with other things in your home that were quote-unquote smart, that you're like, oh my God, I can now do this because of this?
Yes, it's wild. So I don't know if I can say Lady A, we'll call her that. So my home smart speaker, she is fantastic as well. And the stuff that I can hook up to her, well, not me, but Bennett, my in-home tech guy, hooks up to her, I can do so many things. So when my vision continued to drop, I got a little intimidated, I will admit, when it came to the stove. But I love to bake. I love to cook. I'm not the best cook. I'm clearly not. But sight or no sight, I'm still the same. I've never been a culinary expert. But so I can't blame it on my vision. But so something that I have sort of stumbled upon is the air fryer. And we were late to the game on this. Everybody has had their probably first or second air fryer by this point, and we decided to get in on it. But my husband did research, and there is a smart air fryer that we hooked up, Bennett, hooked up to Lady A, and I can tell her to turn the air fryer on at whatever temperature for whatever duration. And then she's like, okay, turning your air fryer on, and repeats what I said. And then the air fryer turns on. It's ridiculously amazing. And it's so empowering. It sounds ridiculous that I say that turning the air fryer on by using my voice is empowering, but it is, because I don't have to mess around with buttons, and I don't have to stress that my bumpet's going to fall off and get pushed on, accidentally move to a different, button beside it, and I'm going to be roasting instead of baking, or I don't know, whatever happens to be, right? Like that. And I also am spoiled. So I have to say I have a robot vacuum that I just voice on, and we've named her Susan. So I tell the lady to turn Susan on, and she's like, okay, turning Susan on. And then this delightful little robot starts moving around my room and sucking all of my guide dog hair up off the floor. It's amazing. So, I mean, it's little things like that like light me up and make me excited, like I said, about what's to come tomorrow. If I can get my food cooked by just speaking my voice and my floor vacuumed, I can't imagine what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe someone would come and flip my laundry over or fold my socks. I don't know.
There obviously are a lot of positives in a lot of this smart technology, but of course there can be negatives too, right? And we've seen, for example, recently with the demise of Microsoft Soundscape, an app which is used to help blind and partially sighted people navigate, Microsoft pulling out of that project and making it open source so that someone else could essentially take on that work for themselves. That's had a big impact on you personally, hasn't it? Because this is an app you just found recently.
Yes, I am devastated. Dear Soundscape people, please do not do this to me. I am late to the game to get onto the Soundscape wave. I was very anti-GPS, whatever, and was trying to do it on my own. And then I stumbled upon Soundscape, and it has like completely changed my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but I'm serious. It's amazing. I do have a Trek, and it's good in its own way as well. I just love the convenience factor of Soundscape, that it's an app loaded on my phone, and I don't have to bring, another piece along with, right? So I have my aftershocks, which are fabulous as well. And so I have my aftershocks with me all the time, and I have my phone with me. Like I said, it fits in my back pocket. No matter where I'm at, it's always there. So, which I may or may not have my Trek with me. So I like the peace of mind that Soundscape or, a like-minded app, I suppose, would provide, and that it provides a sort of bird's eye view. Because when I was sighted and used to drive and, take my kiddo out, I take him out now, but you know what I mean? I liked looking out the window and being like, oh, I'm past the McDonald's, I'm past the Y, I'm whatever, to orientate me. And now with Soundscape, it does the same thing. So it doesn't just say you're on whatever street heading whatever direction, but it tells you every so often like what you're passing by. And to me, that's so normal. I loved how it made me feel normal, just because that's what I would have done before. So I'm totally sad. I'm devastated. I hope somebody picks it up. And I mean, yeah, it's a plead. Please, people, come on. Please keep Soundscape or something like-minded. I'm happy to consult. I know nothing about technology, but I think it's whatever the product is, I think it's fabulous. And it's going to be a huge loss to the blind and visually impaired community. So, boo, yeah.
The aftershocks that you're talking about are the bone conducting headphones, right? And the Trek when you're referring to is the Stellar Trek from Humanware, right?
Yeah, I don't know what Trek it is. I'm going to be honest. It's a Trek. See, I just proved my title to me or to you guys. And yes, they are bone conducting aftershocks, and they're fabulous. So because it allows me to hear what's going on in the environment around me, and then also hear what's going on my device too, because it's a little bit of an overwhelming feeling to stick earbuds in your ears and sort of remove that sense as well, to orientation and safety as well. It's a huge component. So yeah, aftershocks are fabulous.
So why is actually, I think what you're referring to is the Victor Reader Trek, which is a fantastic little device, and it's been around for a number of years now, from Humanware, and it's a separate GPS device which has spoken feedback. Now, why is that not preferable to an app like Soundscape?
Yeah, because it's a second device you have to carry around. And sometimes it doesn't go with my outfit. Sometimes I don't have enough pockets to put it in, and it's too big.
Doesn't fit in the back of the jeans.
It doesn't fit in the back of my jeans. Come on, man. No, seriously. I like the preloaded features of Soundscape where it tells me, if I'm walking by a bus stop and the random businesses that I wouldn't take time to key in there. I like that part of it. Whereas the Trek, you have to, again, shows that I'm lazy. You have to manually put everything in there. And it is nice. You can manually mark out like garbages and park benches and, stuff like that. So that's a really cool feature as well. I've marked out speed bumps that are coming up ahead of me, so I can try to eliminate that as a tripping feature, that type of thing. Though it's really cool in its own way. So really, honestly, if we can fuse both of them, sorry, I should just touch that. If we can sort of fuse both of them together, that would be fantastic. But I really like the convenience factor that should something happen in a pickle and I'm out by myself, I always have that Soundscape app loaded on my phone and I can react. And I feel like I can navigate my way out of most scenarios having that app, whether I'm at home or in a different province or, a different country or whatever, right? Because the Soundscape app is with me. I might not bring my Trek with me, to a different province to visit a friend or a family member, but I always have my phone. So it's a safety part as well for me.
Well, hopefully someone picks up Soundscape and actually continues the development, which is, I think, what we're kind of hoping, and I think what the community is hoping as well. Becki, Steven, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. I want to dive into, your tech support at home, Bennett, after we take a quick break here on Double Tap TV.
Can't get enough Double Tap TV? Subscribe to the podcast and get your fill of Double Tap every day. Visit doubletaponair.com and follow us now. Double Tap TV will be right back. You're watching Double Tap TV.
Welcome back. This is Double Tap TV, and today we are joined by Becki Zerr. We're learning all about her. We call her Not Techy Becki. She calls herself Not Techy Becki, Mark, but I think we're coming to the conclusion she's probably more techy than us.
Yeah, I think that definitely is the case, especially with all the stuff she's describing so far. I do not have a smart air fryer in my house, but we'll get to that for sure. Becki, of course, you're the host of Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, which is a podcast on AMI audio and, of course, also a YouTube podcast now that you do with your son, Bennett. Talk to me about Bennett and how he's become your tech support around your house. I'm
pretty sure Bennett thinks, I'm going to say both myself and my husband are ridiculous. somehow technology is innately, I think, infused in the adolescent generation. I don't know how it happened because, like I said, my husband's not techie. I'm not techie. With sight, I wasn't techie, and somehow my kid understands it and gets it. So I don't know if it's just their culture or their age or what they learn in school or general exposure, but he's awesome. So I joke around that he's my tech guy, and he's my personal tech guy, and he's fabulous. He's 12, and the stuff that he knows it's ridiculous. And it makes me kind of giggle. Like when he was even, I think he was like 4, and I was trying to do something on my iPad, and he's like, why don't you just put them into files? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we can just create files and organize it like this. And I handed him my iPad, and his little tiny little fingers were sitting there creating files and organizing stuff on my iPad. And I was like, okay, that's good. I had no idea we could do that. So, I mean, from a young age, he's just been so helpful, and I bring him anywhere and everywhere I can. I give him the credit and say, you know, he does have his job, and this is what it is. And I joke about it, but I'm kind of serious in many ways because if I don't know what I'm doing, like we got IPTV. Okay, so which is fabulous. It's a TV. I don't even know how to explain it. You guys can explain it. It's like a Fire Stick that has TV on it, but it's got the thing that makes a difference to me. It's got a screen reader built into it. So the TV talks to me and it tells me I'm on 24/7 Golden Girls channel. I'm serious. I really watch that. I know, it's awesome. And so we get glitched up on there every once in a while, and we are like, Bennett, come help us. And he just sort of, I'm sure if I could see him, he's rolling his eyes at us, but still kind of humoring us and feeling pretty good about himself that he's able to help his not techie parents out. But I mean, he understands how technology plays a role in my life and how important it is. And so he took a lot of pride in hooking up, the smart air fryer, the smart speakers, the smart, vacuum, here at the lake, everything. I mean, he takes pride in doing that because he knows it makes a big difference to me. And for the podcast, I brought him along, and he is the tech guy too. Like he's, because my real tech guy doesn't live here. And so he's there, he's taking video and pictures and hooking us up for a recording. And it's just, I mean, I probably could figure it out. And he does teach me how to do a lot of things as well. But he's really convenient. I'm going to be honest.
Does it help you become more independent as a person, give you more confidence in using technology? Having the backup there is good, but when you're out on your own, when you're doing your own thing, is it giving you the confidence to use that technology because you've had the experience already?
It totally does. It makes a big deal, a big difference. I mean, I do refer to myself as somebody who's not really technology literate, but at the same time, I'm around tech all day just to make my life easier in so many ways. And so you kind of get used to it, and you don't even think about many components as a tech component. And he has taught me so many parts of tech and made my life easier, and, installed apps and showed me how to do shortcuts for, keeping inverted colors on and off and whatever. And so his knowledge has really helped me, and he's helped me incorporate different tech aspects into my life at appropriate ages, even from when we were reading. Like when I was able to get a little bit of sight back, our first sort of piece of technology, and call it tech if you want, but in my world, it was a handheld magnifier, right? But it's not the tech that we think about today. But to me, that little piece of plastic and whatever else it's made out of made a huge difference, and it sort of perpetuated from there. Like then I went and I got the CCTV, and like I said, I had eSight, and there's so many different pieces, and they do allow me to gain the confidence, hold my head up a little higher, and feel like I have something to contribute to perhaps help somebody else and make their day a little bit more fluid and confident as well. So, I mean, I got Lulu. She's my guide dog. I've had her for 1.5 years, and she's fantastic. But the reality is, without technology to accompany her and myself as a team, we really wouldn't be doing the things that we are doing today. independently. Navigating parks, navigating rinks, navigating, routes to school, all sorts of things that her and I are able to do. But really, my tech, I was out on a walk with her yesterday, and my tech shut off halfway through the walk, and I was like, oh, what? Like, now what? I don't know what street I'm on. And of course I did. I thought with my mind and I figured out what street I'm on, rebooted the tech, and we kept going and we were fine. But it's like, I'm so used to now listening to you're passing whatever street on your left, right? Like, I'm so used to that. At first it was really awkward to get that part of my mind working fluidly and be able to sort of multitask, like think about something else and listen to the tech and process it all at the same time. Listen to Bennett talking as we're trying to go someplace, because I am the mom and I do want to know, that I'm in charge and all that kind of jazz, and keep him safe too. But technology, honestly, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's life-changing.
Yeah, life-changing indeed. Becki, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to get your point of view, your perspective on the future of accessible technology. This is Double Tap TV. We'll be back after this.
Can't get enough Double Tap TV? Subscribe to the podcast and get your fill of Double Tap every day. Visit doubletaponair.com and follow us now. Double Tap TV will be right back. You're watching Double Tap TV.
Back on Double Tap TV in conversation with Becki Zerr, the host of Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, an AMI exclusive podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. Becki, we talked off the top of the show how you're hopeful that one day there's something that might bring back some of your vision. With the advent of things like Neuralink that Elon Musk is working on, or technology that is out there that's hopeful to potentially implant something in your head and give back sight. Is that something you'd be open to, or something that kind of scares you?
Start the car. Yeah, no, I'm totally open to it. It scares the pants off of me. I will be honest, because I think that I have sort of settled into the person that I am today, and the person that I am today is slightly different than the person that I was sighted. So I'm not really sure what Becki I would be at the end of the day if I was to receive the gift of receiving sight back, or a component of my sight back. But I don't want to be the first person in line, because I think that's a little bit too risky for me. I'm not a Vegas gambler. When I go to Vegas, I go to watch the New Kids on the Block concerts. I don't go to roll the dice on black. But it is definitely something that gives me hope and keeps me going. I think that the reason why I'm able to have a positive outlook is because of hope and optimism that has always been a component of my personality. But I think it's something I rely on a little bit more heavily without my sight right now, because there are things that I miss seeing. I am part of the world. I am contributing. I am at my son's hockey games. I'm, interacting with my husband. I think I'm a general productive member of society. But there are things that I miss seeing and doing as a sighted person. And we still talk about it as part of our family. And I said, I want to go and, scuba dive with the turtles. And my his first reaction was, do you think that's probably the best idea? Because at the end of the day, even if you get your sight back, you're probably going to still have some pressure, issues with glaucoma, and pressure, going down that deep is probably going to be an issue. I'm like, you're such a buzzkill. But I just,
seriously.
Yeah, come on, man. Like, I want to swim with the turtles. Let a girl dream. But I've seen the turtles before, and there were things that I took for granted as a sighted individual that I wish that I wouldn't have just kind of glance past them quickly. I wish I would have stopped kind of relished in the moments a little bit longer and let them linger. So I continue to take photos and videos. Bennett giggled the other day. I think he read that I have like 17,000 photos and like 6,000 videos. And I'm like, yeah, it's part of my process. So my plan is, if I am gifted a component or all of my sight back one day because of the lovely work of Elon Musk or whomever else is working on things today, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to look and visually experience the moments that I've encountered and see how they correlate to each other. I don't want to live in the past, because I know that the future is going to have a lot of exciting things to hold. But I want to see the visual part that I may have sort of missed out on or experienced my own way.
I'm going to throw this question in, but it's probably better sitting before what you've just said. Sometimes it's the simplest of technology that can make the real difference. I know for me, for example, of all the technology I've used over the years, The one thing that I carry with me everywhere I go, no matter where in the world I am, and it is applicable anywhere, is a liquid level indicator. And for those that don't know, that is a device that you sit on a cup and it helps you make a cup of tea independently, which actually, that alone can just boost your confidence, right?
Yes, totally. I just, okay, again, disclosure, I just stumbled upon, no, I didn't stumble upon, I knew they were out there. I just gave in to, submitted to, I guess, and got my own liquid level indicator about a year and a half ago. And it was like revolutionary. It was amazing. It was ridiculous how awesome it was. And Bennett was stealing it. And all of a sudden I would be in a different room hearing beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, it's full. And he's like, this is cool. And, it's the simplistic things like that make our world like, yeah, it sounds silly, but it's a lot classier to put that in a cup than sticking your finger in the cup repeatedly to ensure that you're not overfilling it, right? Little tricks of the trade that, you kind of built into your day and have become normal. So yeah, no, liquid level indicators, awesome. Measuring cups, awesome. I ordered measuring cups with like individual measuring cups, I'm going to say. I ordered some with Braille, thinking that would be really awesome, but I don't know how to read Braille. So the Braille component is kind of pointless, but I do have these Braille measuring cups should I need them. I just use them for, individual measuring, and I know how they are based on size and feel and all that kind of jazz. But just organization in general, I think, makes a visually impaired person's life a lot easier. Routine, consistency, not having people kind of play around with you and switch up your location of your sugar and your flour, because I don't read labels. I don't do whatever. I go by texture and placement and touch, you know what I mean? All that kind of things, which sometimes my family thinks it's funny to even put a hot pepper on my plate while I'm not obviously able to see it, and then they giggle. So yeah, no, it's just, it's part of being a family. So you work your way through it, and yeah.
Becki, Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, of course, featuring yourself and your son Bennett, is a monthly podcast, also in video form, available on YouTube and wherever you guys get your podcasts. I'm going to leave the show today with one last question for you, Becki, and, as short or as long as you want. If you were to give one piece of advice to someone who is losing their vision or who has just lost their vision and is at the point where they just don't know what's next, what would that be?
Take a breath. Gather a team that is going to support you and that you're comfortable with being around even on your lowest days. Because that team is going to carry you through to the days that are going to allow you to feel a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter, and a little bit more confident as well. So it's okay to ask for help. I know that you hear it a lot. Doing it is something completely different. I would say give up on worrying about other people's interpretation, perspective on you. Don't worry about the judgment. Worry about you and what works best for you, your family, and where you want to be today, tomorrow, and 5 years down the line. I would say figure out what your motivation is and remind yourself of those motivations. And, like I said, my biggest motivator was my son. And allow that to bring you through and to do good on the days that you're not willing to do the good for yourself, until you are ready to do the good for yourself. Because I'm in that place now where I do things for me. I see the good that's going into other people's lives as well. But it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to giggle at yourself, and it's okay for others to giggle with you, not at you, but with you, because I think humor is going to carry us from those more challenging times into the good as well. Reach out and surround yourself by people who are like-minded. Not every blind or visually impaired person has the same views, objectives, and principles. I would say it's just like general society. Pick and choose who you think has a similar philosophy in life as you, and use them as a support as well. Because there's no point in us wandering through this journey on our own, carving our own path when the path has been created by others. You don't have to follow my path specifically, but if there's things that insights and knowledge that you can glean from it to help make your life a little bit easier, why wouldn't you? Make it applicable to your world and to your goals. But I think that it's doable. That's something that I worked hard to understand and learn from others in the vision loss world too, is that whatever your life plan is, figure out a way to do it, because if you break it down in small enough components, you work hard and you're honest about your objectives, most things are doable. It won't fix your eyes. That's why I remain optimistic that one day I'm going to turn my lights back on, and it'll be interesting to see what my face looks like in a few years and a few more wrinkles. But yeah, life's still good.
I feel like we could go on for hours, but alas, the show must come to an end. Becki, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey with us. We cannot wait to have you back here on Double Tap TV. And of course, don't forget to tune in to Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, an AMI exclusive podcast, which you can find on any podcast platform of your choosing. Just look up Raising Kindness with Becki Zerr, and that is Zerr for Zerr. We'll see you next week on Double Tap TV.
Thanks for watching Double Tap. Send us your feedback to feedback@doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. Hosted by Mark Aflalo in Montreal and Stephen Scott in Glasgow. Producer Mark Aflalo. Editing and graphics Jordan Steves. Voiceover Anna Vicino. Social media Wendy Kaufman. Integrated Described Video Specialist M. Williams. Supervising Producer Michelle Dudas. Manager Programming AMI TV Lizanne Gagne. Director Content Development and Production Karen Nye. VP Content Development and Operations John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Copyright 2023 Accessible Media Inc.
An AMI original.